Get involved again. If you're just joining us, use the hashtag SpeedChess. If you're wondering what we've been talking about, go to Twitter, look up the hashtag, and you'll see the thread and everything that's going on there. So give us your opinion if you want. And I believe the games are about to begin here in just a few moments. So we will wait for that. And ready when the chess.com team is. So
I'm excited. I'm really excited.
I'm excited. There we go. Games are off.
You know, if there's one player, if you just said they're playing today and I'm going to tune in, honestly, it might be Mamedyarov.
Yeah.
Because sometimes he plays just absolute brilliancies. Other times, honestly, he gets just rocked because he's that type of player who loves adventurous chess. He loves to just play really fighting chess, and so that's why I'm really happy to see him play.
Yeah, and last year, again, we know he got off to a rough start against Anish Giri.
Yeah.
Kind of topic of conversation here, Anish. It will be referenced regularly. And couldn't quite recover. Yeah. At some point, if you remember that match, he started almost playing some trollish kind of openings, and that sort of allowed him to maybe lighten his own mood. And he did make a bit of a comeback there in the 3-1 portion, although, as we know, he ultimately fell to Anish Giri. So here we've got what do we have here? Queen's Gambit decline, some traditional stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the queen on c2, and honestly, when I see this pawn on h6, bishop on f6 combination, I know that for Black's point of view, you want to aim for playing for some kind of c5, right? Well, what's the point of having your bishop on f6?
Right.
If not to try to open it up. But this pawn h4 move, I was going to say after that, when this is bishop on f6, pawn h6, g4, g5 is more powerful. You love to talk about the hook.
Yep.
And that would just break, and there it is, both these ideas.
Wow. Both these ideas are on the board as you say them. Black's best way to justify the bishop's position is to get aggressive, and White's best way to punish this pawn on h6 is to try to pry it open. You call it a hook. I guess I've referred to it as an anchor. Either way, it's the same thing, right? The point is you're trying to have an opportunity to force your opponent to open lines, to force your opponent to make concessions on the king side. And g6 is played with the intention that with g5 happening, Black will be able to trade and then keep the bishop in a defensive spot where it holds and defends dark squares for the newly opened h-file. So that's actually now happened on the board, and I'm expecting Black to play bishop g7, which he does. So this is, I don't want to use the word obscure, but it is a little bit off the normal beaten path, right? This is like, if in a couple moves, I'm going to guess you wouldn't be able to guess whether this was a Queen's Gambit or not if you came into the board and just looked at it, because I think things are about to get totally crazy here.
And I think it's important to note that this bishop on c8 doesn't really have a home yet, and if you ever take on c4, you free up this e4 square, and White will either put a queen there to run over to h4, or put a knight there, or maybe after that, queen e4, queen h4, then knight e4 to go to f6. So you have to be very careful as Black here not to just say, oh, I need to open up some space for my pieces because I'm a little cramped, because you'll see it backfire. And also, if you take on c4, pawn to d5 pushes are available. So this knight b4 idea, I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, Black is almost desperate. I feel like you're highlighting this well. If we analyze the position, as you said, the tension on d5 and c4 is key, because White's not going to take it and open up this bishop here.
Right.
Right.
Bishop f5 would be very painful.
Bishop f5 would be a bad idea. But White probably has more means to even inch his way over to an attack than Black does.
Yes.
With this knight to b4 thing. So he's trying to get desperate here, I guess. Knight b4, what's he going to do? Put the queen out, or maybe the pawn to a5?
The thing about a move like pawn, let's say I go queen b3 here, right? If you go pawn a5, I might just go c5 and close down the queen side and look at the weak squares on Black's queen side. Of course, you have to watch out for b6 and just opening up more lines, but oftentimes you're not really getting a huge attack as Black, and you are creating some weak squares that I can take advantage of.
And this bishop remains bad if the structure remains this way. It's interesting because now knight to b4, I don't know. I mean, I like queen d2. This was the path that I was kind of hoping for, but even your positional approach could have been good enough. So taking c4 is a way to justify the knight maneuver. You're going to bring the knight back to d5. I guess that makes sense. But look for Mamedyarov to probably just play queen f4.
I like it. I mean, you're going for a very straightforward attack. Queen f4, queen h4, and then just try to mate the Black king. And if you point out that the bishop on g7 is very valuable there.
Yep.
But that's why some ideas with an eventual knight e4 to f6, if you can make it happen, would be very strong. Saying you're going to probably have to give me this bishop and then really weaken your dark squares.
Yep.
I know Wesley's been moving a lot.
Wesley's moving a lot. Maybe there's maybe there's a cat.
Oh, he does have a cat, right?
He does have a cat. Could be a cat on the table. He's now
he's focused. And also, Mamedyarov kind of looks like he's at the dentist.
Yeah, he does. That's a curtain of a dental office, right? What music you think is playing in the background? The overhead music,
Yeah.
right? I don't know. I'm always wondering. Diamond member Rogue Greco says we should have a bonus Danny Hess SCC. I don't think I could play on the same board with Robert Hess in an SCC. I could commentate,
Yeah.
but I appreciate that. All right, he goes Queen f4. I like it, but you highlighted the dark square bishop, and I think this is key because it's like in a dragon where if White doesn't have the dark square bishop himself to get rid of that piece and fully open up access, Black's position is always a little more defensible than first meets the eye because in that line I highlighted, right, Queen a5. Oh, he's played it. I was kind of just going intuitively to free the rook so that a move like Queen h7 is met by King f8. But it wasn't a bad line to show because it highlights the purpose of this bishop.
What is
holding all the squares?
Why does he keep putting his hand over the camera? He's like, peekaboo.
Apparently he's having trouble seeing, I bet. Maybe he needs to
so?
close the curtain behind him. I don't know if someone... there we go. He's going to adjust a little bit. You know, it's a tough life when you've got glare coming in your window.
I thought he was playing peekaboo.
You know, my 3-year-old daughter believes when she covers her eyes that nobody can see her, right? Because if she can't see you, you can't see her. So maybe he doesn't think we can see him if he covers the camera. Okay, b5 played. I expect
smart move. Very smart.
Very smart move. From a practical point of view, you have to get counterplay as Black.
Yep. But the thing is, if you go bishop b7, right, you're clearly saying that, okay, I finally finished my development. Now, instead of rook d8, as you were saying before, that rook can come to c8 and just create havoc on the queen side. And I like this move, king b1. Just a very safe move, saying, well, if you go rook to c8 now, perhaps I have knight e5 as a response, and saying, I was saying the other rook to c8, right? So if you move the f rook, knight e5 attacks f7, threatens sacrifices because the bishop on b3 is not just a defender of the a2 square.
Yep.
It is an aggressor aiming for the e6 square as well. But if you go knight e5 now, maybe there's a bishop takes h1, and that extra exchange could be in Black's favor.
Yeah, you just may not have enough to justify the material sack because, as we know, again, if the queen ever comes here and tries to go to h7, it's not going to be mate.
But I'm kind of into it. He's playing smarter than I am. He's going to go rook h3, rook d to h1, and a queen f6.
Oh, my gosh. Are you serious? He's going to go queen f6?
Yeah.
Dude, I love that.
Okay, this sacrifice.
Wow, both sides are completely all in. I mean, we were asking for enterprising chess today, or I guess we were predicting enterprising chess given that we've got Mamedyarov playing. And the opening he shows with a castle's long, sound or unsound, the attack is happening when you're playing, when you're watching Mamedyarov's games, right? Super interesting.
But now knight d5. This is actually, you have to take it.
You have to take it. You don't want to part with the light square bishop, but the fork on c3 forces your hand.
This is really smart by Wesley.
Yeah.
Because after bishop takes d5, bishop takes, now the a2 pawn, Black is the two bishops.
And look at the clock. It's something we haven't highlighted. Yeah, this is the first game. If you're just getting here, welcome. The Speed Chess Championship continues. We've got the Azeri Shakiyar Mamedyarov versus the American Wesley So, and should be an exciting match. So thanks for being here. I think that this could be a huge storyline. If this continues, a 2-minute plus time advantage for Wesley So. That's a problem.
Oh, he just takes that pawn.
He's going to play rook b8, though, I think.
Oh, yes, he is.
Rook b8. The attack continues.
That seemed like a risky choice to take that pawn.
Yeah. But it was hard, right? I mean, the bishop pair, the threat of b takes c3.
Yeah. I thought, sometimes you just sacrifice the pawn with c4 to keep things closed, but I mean, he took on b4. So what's the problem with rook to b8?
I don't know what he's thinking about. I wonder if there's... Oh, wait, is there something? No, there's nothing with queen f4 because you're taking with check.
Yeah, you just...
So, rook to b8. Either Wesley is... I don't know.
I'm trying to figure it out.
He seems awake.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, he's got something better, perhaps. That's why. Bishop e4 check and... Whoa.
So he's trying to hit the rook and the knight on f3.
Okay.
Knight g1.
Knight g1. What a nice find.
But rook d8 has to be good. Just like pile
And there's
of
also
pressure.
e5 coming at some point. This is... Look at this. This is like we are one puzzle rush tactic away from ending the game.
Yeah, this is this is a big problem. If you
rook takes d4?
If you take on d4, queen takes d4, is there some kind of hope that...
in the end, there's queen takes f2.
Yeah, it has to be good for Black.
Let's look at it. Rook takes d4, queen takes d4, bishop takes d4, rook takes d4, chopalicious. You get the bishop. I get the knight with check, and I hit g5.
So many pawns.
Has to be good. Okay, it looks like he's going for... Oh, no, he plays bishop d5 instead.
Okay, also
very patient.
Queen c2 is coming... What?
Classic Shuck. He was about to lose on time, and he didn't know what else to do.
Wait, he played that move, and I was like,
man, that was a total, like, computer's going to get mated, so spite check.
I thought, like, wait, is there a second rook on the H file, so he's going to deliver a checkmate? No.
Yep. Wow.
He's just messing around. That honestly scared me. I was like, rook H8. Wasn't expecting that one. But honestly, great defense by Wesley. So that rook takes C3 move changed the kind of tone of the game here.
Let's look at it. We'll back up as they're getting set to rematch here. But the practical move Robert's talking about, the big moment, was right here where it felt like rook H1 and Robert's idea, queen F6, might truly be on the agenda. Some really scary stuff coming down the H file, but the practical rook takes C3, and maybe more than practical, maybe rather concrete, given that the fork of the queen and the pawn on C3 forces parting with kind of your key defensive piece, right? This bishop has been holding down A2, and everything changed in the game. Wesley got a practical, well, more than that, right? But I liked your point of C4. I think that you were right that this might have been the best move.
I guess the same thing that he
bishop
did in the
E4
game,
check
queen F5.
and queen F5 might be happening anyway.
Yeah, painful.
Yeah, honestly, it looks like these two bishops in the attack was just going to be too much for Mamedyarov regardless.
Yeah, and actually in the game when this bishop E4, queen F5 thing happened, we just go a couple moves forward here.
Yep.
You know, it was interesting that he went, this knight G1 is just ultra passive. He probably should have queen E3 or something like that. Just like
trying to give up the rook for the bishop.
Exactly, because white is up a pawn in the position.
Right.
So if you give up the exchange there, you have some